Right, this is what I want to talk about. Why easy tasks form habits easier than hard tasks form habits. Right, and let me explain what I mean by that. I love the whole science behind behavioural change and habitual change and all these things and how habits are formed, and I've been working on this for ages, right? And I've always been a big believer, first and foremost, that when it comes to goal setting and goal achievement, that we shouldn't try and do everything at once, right? Because there is this common misconception. I'm not even sure misconception is the right word, but it's just this desire of ours that every time we want to do something, we want to do everything, and we sort of want it now. We want to be fitter, faster, slimmer, healthier, wealthier, to have written a book, to have done the course by the end of the week, right? It's like this inbuilt thing. We sort of go, yeah, I want to do everything at once. And what tends to happen is we start everything at once, and then we quickly get overwhelmed. Our willpower's just drained to the max, and then nothing happens. And that big lovely long list of goals and achievements that we set out for the year end up just dwindling away to not a lot. And then guess what? We repeat the same list come New Year's Eve the following year, and it looks exactly the same as the previous years, and we don't actually progress that much very quickly. So as you know, I've been a big believer in scrap that, just go for one goal at a time. But inherent in that one goal at a time scenario is this. I think very often when we set up our goal tasks, we make them too hard, right? And here's the thing about hard tasks. They require a lot of willpower and motivation. For example, let me just explain. So let's just say you're a non-runner and you set the goal task of, I'm going to run a half marathon, which is a brilliant goal for lots of people that don't really exercise, and it's one of those type of things that just is going to give them lots of structure and help guide them towards maybe a habitual exercise routine that's going to last them a lifetime, potentially. But what most people will do in that scenario is go, right, I'm going to be a runner, and I'm going to run out that door, and I'm going to start with a 2k run, right? And at first blush, that probably sounds sort of achievable and okay, but if you can imagine, to the non-runner, it's probably really painful, right? That's a hard step to follow. And what happens first few days? Yeah, I'm up for it. I'm going to do it. I'm full of motivation. I've got tons of willpower for this. Day 1, day 2, day 3, nothing. Right, and that sounds a bit brutal, but it's so true. It's so true because it's hard, right? And when it hurts, we constantly need high levels of motivation and willpower. And as we know, willpower fluctuates, it runs out. So as soon as we make anything too hard, especially early on, we don't give the space and the time for a habit to form. Right? The key to all of this stuff is to build the habit first, right? Get into the habitual routine of moving your body, and then you can increase the pace and duration. Right, I'm just using running as an example, right? But this could be anything. This could be writing your book. It could be powering up your career. It could be habitual habits, ways of thinking. Habitual thinking habits is what I meant to say, right? Because they're just as important. For example, when someone gives you criticism, right? Very often we have these habitual pathways that we just jump into that don't serve us, right? And we'll get stuck into the more mental habitual pathways on another post, right? But they're just as important as the habits such as exercise or quality nutrition. Habitual ways of thinking, those type of habits we need to overwrite and make them aligned with where it is we're trying to go, so we can build this vibrant world. But anyway, back to the point. So here's that person, right? They're going to run out the door and it's like 2k every day. Doesn't happen, right? We've all been in situations like that. How many goals have you started full of motivation and you've gone at it really hard early on and then nothing? Right, and the reason this came about is because this morning, Tara and I were out doing our weight session, right? And I've mentioned my weight session before. I do it every single day. I love it. It's really simple and it's not that difficult. And it's the maximum effect for the minimum effort. So it's sort of easy, even though it's making my body incredibly strong. I love it. It's social. You can chat in between weight sessions. It doesn't last long. I'm not breathing. I'm not like sweating all over the place afterwards. It's just really easy. It's really social, but it's unbelievably powerful, right? And the brilliant thing about routines like that is that you just keep showing up. You keep showing up day after day after day. And I've got Tara on it now, right, because of the lockdown. And she's loving it. And she's showing up with me day after day after day. There's no like, oh really? Whereas I contrast that, and we've tried this before, Tara and I, with a HIIT session. It's like, come on, Andy's boot camp, let's go. In the garden, right, we're going to smash it out for 20 minutes, then our day is done, right? That lasts consistently for about 3 days. Then it doesn't happen, because I stop enjoying it. Tara certainly stops enjoying it because it's too hard, right? This is the point. It's like going all in too early on the exercise routine to make it so hard that you require a ton of motivation and willpower to keep showing up. And guess what? You don't keep showing up, and guess what? Nothing happens. Like, that pattern is repeated throughout so many of the healthy habits we're trying to implement. If it's too hard, we need that willpower. We cannot rely on willpower. We know this, you've heard me say that a bazillion times. So just dial it back, dial it back, dial it back. Make it easy. Make it as easy as you possibly can to keep showing up enough times to form the exercise habit. I'm just using exercise as an example, right? But once you've formed the habit of exercise, it's so much easier then to start playing around with duration and length or speed or whatever it is you're doing, because the habit's there. You're someone now that just shows up automatically, and at a clock, you exercise. The fact that it's been really easy for a number of weeks doesn't matter, right? You've built those habitual pathways. You've got that trigger, routine, reward little loop going. You like it, you enjoy it, and then in that space you can start to lengthen the duration or the pace. Again, using exercise as an example, but this could be with any habits, right? I'm talking about dial it right back to the most simple and easy and enjoyable. So Tara and I were talking about this, right? And just saying how powerful it is once you form these habits, because they're super easy. So just think about other habits that you might do. If it's writing that book, this is a classic that people have in mind, right? And they start out with 500 words a day or whatever it is, which again feels achievable, but it's really hard. 500 words a day is really hard. And if you start at that point there, the chance of you showing up consistently enough to form that habit are diminished. But if you start up and just say, right, it's going to be 50 words a day or a sentence a day, that's it. You'll just get in the routine and start to lock that habit loop in as someone that shows up at a certain time based on a trigger, plays the routine, a sentence or 50 words, gets the reward. Brilliant, I've done it. Right, and you lock in that habit, and then over time you can move that from a sentence to 50 words to 100 words to 500 words, right? But you get the same place, you just do it in a different way. So the real conclusion, I guess, summary of today's post is just make everything easier. Look at all the habits in your life that you're trying to form, and if you've tried them before and you've gone in too hard too soon, try them again, but just dial it back to the most basic, the most simple. Like, what is the minimum you can do to form the habit? And then try and solidify that loop and then increase the pace and the duration. Cool, hopefully that was helpful today. I'm getting a great buzz off that at the moment because I'm genuinely going back through all the things that I'm trying to build in my life where I failed before and just dialing it back to the simple. And I've got a sneaky feeling that is going to be unbelievably powerful regards habit formation. Cool, all right, let's do this.